Coast versus West Coast 50K. Done. Got it done on Saturday. Obviously, we did not run it on trails, simply for the fact that we didn't want to have to drive an hour to a location, then run for 5+ hours, and because that's what it would be if we were out on the trail, and then drive another hour back. Like we wanted to have part of our day left, but that didn't keep us from making a really difficult course, because the roads over in the Rockport area in southern Indiana, just in Spencer County, have a lot of elevation to offer us. So with Matt Harvey, who also did the 50K, as our guide, we managed to get our 31.2 miles with about 1,500 feet of elevation gain. And man, rolling hills. So we'll just kind of break it down. So I started off every day like I always do. I had my toast with, this week it's almond butter and honey. Woke up about 4:15, got my stuff together. Obi stayed the night at my parents', so he was taken care of. Got my Sword drink mix mixed up into my liter container, and then packed up and got ready to go. I decided to run in the Ultra Escalante 2s. It just kind of felt like that would be the best thing, because there are some gravel roads out there. Might not have been the ideal shoe, but as far as what I had available, I feel like it was the best shoe to use. And so that's what I started off with. For my gel nutrition, I used the Huma Lemonade and then the Blackberry Banana Pluses, which have some extra caffeine and electrolytes. Those were disgusting. Just gonna go ahead and throw that out there. Absolutely gross. So weather-wise, it was honestly the perfect morning. We started at 5:30, and Jeremy Kincaid met up with us as well. Ran the first 11 miles with us, and man, I mean, low 60s. The trees provide a lot of shade, and it's just really a nice, cool, perfect summer running weather. And so then we get back, Jeremy split off, and Matt and I did 10 on our own. Started to get a little hotter. I ditched the shirt. I was going through liquid really fast, I did notice. The first time I managed to have my handheld last me the entire 11 miles. I did notice on the second lap that I took in my handheld probably at about 8 or 9 miles, I was finished with my handheld. So it was a little concerning there. I noticed that I was taking in a lot of liquid and still not really feeling satisfied in that department, which is strange. I'm not really sure why. I was following the plan that's always worked for me on my long training runs or the things that I've done in the past. So very interesting here as we keep going. I did notice that I started to slow down and feeling a little rocky around when we came back in to meet with Nathan at kind of the 21-mile mark.
Hey, come on. You'll want to watch this later.
Mouth is so dry. It's the Snyders.
I was filming that fly on your back. All right, what about it?
My buddy, we picked him up along the way.
You got flies all over you. You must stink.
Oh, smell great. Bitch. Doing good. This is usually where I have my lowest point. About 3 hours in and right on cue for that, so we'll see.
What about the hills? Do you think that's contributed to a little bonk?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a beer? This looks like a beer.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna chug it and some water.
You look pretty rough.
Thanks, man. You look great.
What about the heat, the weather?
Weather's perfect.
Just the sun?
I mean, it doesn't feel like that's it. You know, we've been in the shade for the most part. It's just hamstrings, stuff like that. You know, you can definitely tell that these routes aren't what we have in Owensboro, you know. Oh man, just trying to keep it together. I'm not sure. So like I said, in the 3 hour mark is usually when I start kind of going into a valley, right? There's ups and downs in races, especially longer ones. And so 3 hours is kind of my valley point. I wasn't feeling hydrated. Fuel wise, I felt fine, but it was really my hydration. I started to get some cramping in my quads. Not as much as Mountain Mist, which to compare, these are the only two 50Ks I've done. Mountain Mist was certainly harder, but for some reason this 50K was more just brutal, I guess. I don't know why. There was something about, I don't know if it was the sword instead of using like water or what it was, but I wasn't feeling hydrated, right? So, and that was really a big thing for me, is I was just like, oh my gosh, I just feel dry. I feel lightheaded. It's hot. So that was one of the big things that really was bothering me and kept rolling through my mind at this point in the run. After the first two loops, so at about 21 miles, I did change out of the Escalantes. I just don't really think that they had the protection that I'm used to. I'm not gonna say that I need, because it's the protection I'm used to, and using the sandals and using the Escalantes, all these things, I'm trying to get used to more, or more accustomed to more responsive shoes that don't just have like a cloud underneath my foot, to try and strengthen up your legs, because that cushioning really does, it kind of weakens your legs when you're running, and weakens that fatigue. You rely on it a little bit. So I did break from that and switch back to the Hoka One One Rincon Old Faithful, and you know, I think that helped relieve a lot. That helped relieve a lot as far as just like my legs, right? So we take off with Nathan and I'm bonked, right? Like almost from the get-go, I've lost it. And I held back from him for pretty much the entire last 10 miles. I would try and catch up. And then we got to the marathon point, and that was after this big steady uphill, and they really separated from me, caught up with them, and it wasn't even a mile after that I was like, I gotta walk up this hill. I can't keep running right now. And so they went on. Jordan kind of rode his bike back and forth. I was really struggling with that hydration. I don't know, I was out of my handheld already, still had another 4 or 5 miles to go. Just really not as fueled hydration wise as I should have been for some reason, and I don't know why. I don't know if maybe I need to look into some other options, or but that certainly isn't something that worked for me. Which this whole thing was kind of I treat it like training. Like, yes, it's a virtual race and all that, but this was really, in my head, an opportunity to find out a little bit more about my nutritional habits in these longer races. The gels went well. I felt fueled. I felt like you know, I had energy, but man, the hydration just really got me. Or maybe it is that I wasn't, you know, getting enough calories as I went along, but I don't believe that that's the case. Maybe I should have paid the extra money for the Spring Energy. Those really were amazing throughout the German Ridge run. They kept me going. Granted, that was 18 miles. And I didn't get to the 3-hour mark, I don't think, on that run, but I don't know, this run was killer. I knew I wasn't gonna quit, I knew I wasn't gonna stop, but man, it did. You can see it on the Strava like breakdown of my miles, that there's right there at mile 25, there's like a significant like shoo, and from there I just decided, like, okay, make a pact with myself, you know, if I'm not uphill, I'm running, or whatever running looked like at that point, right? And if I'm going uphill, I'm walking. Like, that's just gonna be what I do, but I'm not gonna quit. Like, I'm gonna power through. Like, quitting's not an option. And so ended up making it through, got it done. Matt ended finishing with, I believe, an 8:35 minute pace per mile, and really killed it. I believe that brought him in around 4 hours and 30, 4 hours and 40. I'll actually confirm that here for you in the video. And then I finished in 5 hours and 4 minutes, which actually placed both of us in the top 100, actually in the top 80 for the East Coast versus West Coast 50K, which, just in case you're wondering, the East Coast is currently winning by a long shot, mostly because we just had way more entrants, which I was shocked. I don't know, maybe, I guess, West Coasters are out hiking more, doing things like that. I'm not really sure why, or what the cultural difference is between the virtual race entrants of East Coasters and West Coasters. Maybe the population density is more on the East Coast than the West Coast, whatever it may be. Beast Coast is crushing it, represented well. Sunday, yesterday, today for me was the last day to do it. So it's from May 1st to May 31st, and so it's over, it's decided. There's no way the West is coming back. Beast Coast wins it. So the 50K is down, my second 50K ever, and I've learned a lot. Gained a little bit more metal, figured out what doesn't work as far as my hydration and nutrition, which is a victory. It's a plus. And I got to hang out with some awesome friends, do an awesome run, which pushing your limits together is always an awesome thing. And it's what this whole shebang of Share the Road is all about, right? So that's the East Coast versus West Coast 50K. It's done, it's over. Now we're focused in fully on marathon training and building up my mileage. I really don't think Indy's gonna happen, but we'll see. Last week they announced that they will be accepting virtual results for the Indy Monumental Marathon. I think it's just a matter of time before they say it's all virtual or you can defer to next year. So we'll see how it goes. If I do have to, I'll do a virtual if they still allow for a Boston qualifier. If they don't, I have no interest, right? I'll find a trail race to do or something like that. I'm moving on. I've got my other goals listed in my 2020, 2021 goals video, and I'm sticking to that. Like, I'm not going to push off this Boston goal to next year. Like, I'm gonna focus on those goals that I've already set. Maybe Boston can happen later on, but honestly, my interest is waning on it. If I don't accomplish it this year, I'm gonna push it off to way later down the road, because frankly, I'm interested in the trails and the ultra, and the only road thing I really have a lot of interest in is comrades. So that's where I'm at with my training. That's where we're at right now. I hope you guys have an outstanding week. It's supposed to be beautiful weather, so make sure you get out there, get some activity in, train hard, rest easy, and always share the road. Abel out.